The Killers, Brandon Flowers, David Keuning, Mark Stomer and Ronnie Vannucci are quite possibly the hottest band on the planet right now. Their self-produced debut album, Hot Fuss, has stormed charts the world over and topped critics' poll after critics' poll. The singles, Mr. Brightside, Somebody Told Me and All the Things That I've Done have electrified radio playlists. And, with their talents already recognised at both the Brit and Grammy Awards, they look to be well on their way to achieving singer Brandon's stated goal of making them as perfect as the fictional band in the New Order video from which they took their name. But it all could have been very different. If Oasis had not played Las Vegas in 2002, Brandon might have stayed in his original synth band, and Keuning might never again have picked up a guitar. That gig by the Manchester band was the inspiration that brought these two talented men together. Prior to that, David and Brandon's early attempts at music had been something less than to die for.
My family doesn't they just don't understand it at all. I mean, they're excited about everything, but my mom gave me piano lessons when I was 6. Her grandmother had died and we got a piano out of it. And I would always, fiddle around on it, and I guess that's how that started.
Prior to this, it was just crappy high school bands and stuff like that, and little indie bands, I guess you'd say. Just that didn't amount to anything, but and then I went through a stretch of like 4 years when I didn't play with anyone, and then I just decided to move out to Vegas at that point because I was really bored in Iowa. So then I moved out to Vegas, and eventually I met Brandon and we all hooked up.
Brandon had recently returned to Las Vegas to fall in love with the Smiths and play in a keyboard band with the distressing name Blush Response. He loved Vegas, but it was no Manchester.
I was very young still, 16, and it was partially that and partially getting out of the small town that I was in. I'd grown up in Las Vegas, and my parents moved when I was 9. We moved away, and my mindset was always, in the city. And so as soon as I was old enough, I begged and begged to go live with my aunt. So my parents let me go. The way I look at it is, you have the sin area, and which is what everyone seems to be fascinated with. And for us, it was just normal. I didn't see it as necessarily a bad thing or a good thing, it was very exciting. I mean, at night it's gorgeous, and it's in this valley, and everybody lives around it. So usually, from somewhere in your yard or on top of a wall, you can look down and just see this beautiful city. And it was always kind of like intriguing to me when I was young, because you weren't allowed to go into the casinos unless you were with your mom or whatever. And even then, I mean, they had to just rush you through. You weren't, So as soon as I could get a fake ID, I did.
And so in 2002, Brandon found himself at a loose end in Vegas. He loved English bands, and one of them was coming to play a gig that would literally change the course of his life. The Gallaghers were coming to town.
I mean, I don't know if it's some cosmic thing or what it is, but I was just literally walking through the Hard Rock Hotel and had no idea that there was a band playing at all, and I knew of Oasis, but and at the time I was really heavily into keyboards, and I didn't know what I was gonna do, and a guy just gave me a ticket, and so I walked in, and they had already played almost the entire show, and I got to see the last 3 songs, and then they finished with Liam Walks Off, and they did Don't Look Back in Anger, and it was just so massive, and it just hit me, just slapped me in the face, everybody singing it, and the way it felt and how huge it was. And it was almost, it was this big religious type of a thing, everybody singing that chorus. And I just felt that there's just no way that, I wanted that, I definitely wanted that. And I just didn't think that was, going to happen in a keyboard band. I just automatically started, scouring the papers for a guitar player. I would stop people if I saw somebody with a sticker on their car that said, U2 or the Smiths or something. I've stopped people at stoplights, gotten out of my car and knocked on their window before I met Dave. And so I was on a mission.
Yeah, and I never found anyone really to play with, drummers or anybody, but I definitely was looking for someone like a singer, and I just said looking to start band or join band, and no one, I didn't join any band obviously, and then Brandon called, and because I did put Oasis, to finish that whole story, I put that in the ad, and there really aren't that many Oasis fans in Vegas that are trying to start bands.
The first meeting between Brandon and David is the stuff of legend, a nervous singer, an accomplished guitar player, and then some chords on a tape that would lead to their very first single, the brilliant Mr. Brightside.
It's an exciting process. You never know who's going to open the door, when you're looking. Yeah. It's really quite a good buzz when you're looking for people and you're meeting people. And we went through it actually later on, looking for bass players and drummers, going to people's houses. But Dave opened the door and let me into his world. And I don't know, it was all right. We just talked mostly. We played a little bit, and it was the first time I'd been close to a guitar player. And so I was kind of in awe of everything. And he gave me a tape and with some of his ideas and songs on it. And actually most of them were him singing songs, and which he has that somewhere probably. I probably lost it.
I'm sure I do.
But somewhere in between the songs is the guitar line for Mr. Brightside, and that's pretty much how it started.
Yeah.
Came back and we just put a chorus on it and sang over it, and so we finished Mr. Brightside. It was completely done exactly how it is now, without ever having a bass player or a drummer. I mean, the structure and everything hasn't changed, and I remember it was just exciting. We knew it was good, and I couldn't wait, and then we finally got to play with, it didn't matter who was playing any kind of beat behind it, it sounded great, we were excited.
It was a difficult process just because there wasn't almost anybody to pick from in Vegas, and both Mark and Ronnie were already in other bands, and basically we just played with the first two people we could find out. The bass player was actually a good friend of mine who was living with me at the time, and I said, do you want to play bass? It's like, okay. I like what you guys are doing. But they saw us play, Mark saw us play, and Ronnie saw us play, and talking with them, became friends, and then eventually we decided to start practicing with them, and that was the beginning of the Killers that you see.
We were writing right away. I mean, when I look back now at what Dave was talking about, it was just so essential for us to play, because a live performance is such an important thing, and I had no idea. David played out, a little bit, but we just played all the time and tried to get used to it, and then Ronnie and Mark came later, and the whole time we were just writing and growing, and
it just makes you want to improve if you've got a live show coming up, because you're like, oh crap, we're trying to come up with good songs, and it's a good idea to get shows right away, because it forces you to be a little more organized.
Despite the obvious potential of the Killers' early songs, record company interest in the band was slow, and it took an English indie label, Lizard King, to get the ball rolling.
Not until we got in touch with this man by the name of Braden Merrick, who's now our manager. He was at the time a rep, like an A&R man for Warner Brothers. So once he helped us out a little bit, and came and checked us out and helped us find the right person to make a demo with, we went and made the demos, and he got us a couple of showcases, and nobody was interested until England basically happened. We were playing at Warner Brothers, and there was an English guy there. And he worked for Warner Brothers UK, right?
He worked for Warner's UK. He was friends with some people at Lizard King, and Warner turned us down, and this guy really liked us and said someone should sign this band, and he gave it to his friend over at Lizard King, and they were the only one who put out an offer. No one else was willing to take the first, leap of faith. And so we did that, and then we came over to England and played a week's worth of shows, and it turned out really well. And then other labels were interested after, like a little taste test, that we passed. So
I think all it was one feature, an NME, and every label in America wanted us.
Now the power of the NME. Having been slow to get involved, the record companies now found they'd signed a band with an almost complete album. Some fine-tuning and mixing from the legendary Alan Moulder, and it was ready to go.
Most of it had been done, as demos. And we only had to finish a few songs. We redid a couple songs that I was sick when I sang them, and you could tell, and that was about it. And then it took us a couple of weeks. The songs were finished. We knew how they were. Well, I just think the songs were so strong that even our A&R guy was just...
We had proven that we could do it by ourselves already, because we had 8 of them already done, and we recorded with Jeff Saltzman, whose name is on there as co-producer. It was his house we recorded in, and like we said, a lot of it was already done, and he was like, well, it's almost done. Why get a producer to do 4 more songs? You guys know what you're doing. So
the Killers were described in the music press as a safe bet for success, but strangely, the recording was anything but safe. Earthquakes, forest fires, and turbulent plane rides all threatening our heroes, apparently.
Gone into tall tales, there was an earthquake that was a small tremor, and it's been blown into proportion, as if this floor opened up and we were almost swallowed into it or something. And there was an earthquake during the recording of Believing Natalie.
Ronnie almost fell in.
That's true. I ran and pulled him out. Yeah. But anyway, and there was fires. To drive from Vegas to LA, we did have to drive around a lot of forest fires to get there.
Every summer in that area, there's
a common
massive
thing.
Fires. It's so dry and so hot. So
this literally
this was
the
a big
parking
one,
lot of the recording studio had an inch of acid on every car when we pulled up, and there was a chance that we were going to have to evacuate, but we were safe. We weren't running from flames.
It actually makes the sky really beautiful though when the fire. It's tragic, what happens with fire, but you can actually see the sun through the smoke, and it's really weird, pretty thing, because it's the ash is falling like snow, and you see the sun, and it's this weird orange color, and I just remember that, thinking it should be. I don't know. It's just weird how pretty it is. Yeah.
Apart from those potentially fatal, life-threatening recordings, the Killers' path to the top has been one of relative ease, a lesson to other bands, perhaps. Write great songs.
I know that I'm aware that so many bands struggle and are still struggling, and we just kind of went up slowly, everything just from my apartment, us meeting, and just everything just started to go really well. Then we met Mark and Ronnie, and then a year later was when we got the first record deal. So not too many setbacks.
Yeah, it's strange. It's been such a natural process, but it's happened so quickly. It's just it's just like somebody that like a normal band that it takes a while to make it. It's all crammed in. We met, we played gigs, we met the right person, we made demos, we got a record deal. It's just happened a lot quicker than other bands. It's hard being away from home all the time. None of us have ever worked this hard. When you think about and when you dream about being a rock star or writing songs and being this this huge band or whatever, you don't imagine it being very hard. It's just, and it is. But it's that important to us. We love music. Has changed all of our lives and had a huge effect on it. And it's just the most amazing thing in the world. And to be a part of it, we're just excited.
At the time of our interview, though, there was still one ambition left unfilled, an opportunity to meet the band that had brought them together, the all-conquering Oasis.
Big fans, but I'm a little afraid to meet them, to be honest.
I want to meet Noel. Noel was scheduled to come to our last gig in London, but he didn't show up, I don't think.
I think his brother came.
The other brother came. You know, there's another brother.
He came. He's really nice.
The level of expectation surrounding the Killers is the highest to have greeted any new band in a very long time. So it does a great start, bring great pressure.
There is a lot of expectations, but I don't think it's worth sweating over it. I mean, we're working on some songs that we think are really, really good, and when we have time, we'll record them, you know. But we're dealing with it pretty well, I guess.
I think it's great that people are talking about us, and everybody says, you know, oh, the British press is going to put you up and tear you down, and it's just, I mean, whether it's inevitable or not, we want to be a universal band, and hopefully our songs, you know, it seems to be that, you know, happening that way. We want our music to be for everyone, and hopefully, I mean, it has a lot to do with, you know, the lyrical content and things like that for it to be that way. But we're not really worried about, you know, what England can the way they can tear it down or not. I mean, we've got a few songs now that I feel like they're better than anything on this album already, and we're just excited to grow up with it.